Hello, beautiful English students. This is a quick video lesson on how to use a comma. I'd like you guys to have a proper heading and please be taking notes that you can turn in the next class. So how to use a comma. Let's dive straight in. There's lots of different ways. Let's zoom in. Using a comma to separate items in a series. So the Oxford comma, essentially, the performing, literary, and visual arts, voicemail, call waiting, caller ID, and much more. And so to separate those ideas, we put commas in place just to make sure that we understand that there's a separation of those items. No comma if all items are joined by a coordinating conjunction, so cash or check or debit card. The postman's creed, neither rain nor snow, and so because we're putting nor, we don't put or, we don't put a comma. And so here's just a quick little way to remember if there's a coordinating conjunction, you don't put a comma. It spells fan voice, which is really cute. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. Use a comma to separate two sentences joined by a coordinating conjunction. So online and mail order shopping can be convenient and time-saving with appropriate precautions, and they are safe as well. And so because we're separating two ideas, that is why we put the comma there as opposed to at the first and. No one writes letters anymore, comma, or so it seems. Oops. All right, sorry for the interruption. Miss Lindsay just came into my room. Use a comma to separate two sentences joined by a coordinating conjunction. We just went over that. Parents once automatically gave their children the father's surname, comma, but some no longer do. Just kind of the flow of if you pause, you should probably put a comma. No comma to separate compound elements within a sentence. Television advertising is expensive and sometimes very effective. So because we don't have a comma here, no comma to separate compound elements within a sentence. Losing weight causes fat cells to shrink and become less active. Are you the result of what has happened to you or what you've made happen? Use a comma to separate elements of dates and geographical locations. So dates, obviously, where the year and the day separate, and then the year to whatever sentence is. You would not put it here, but when you say like between March 2011 and January 2011 and March 2012. And then location, you would definitely put it in between the city and the state, and then probably the state to whatever else you're saying, kind of like with the date. And then you would definitely separate the street to the city, and then the city to the state, and then again towards the rest of the sentence. These examples are a really good opportunity to write these down because sometimes when you just read the red, it doesn't really make sense. Use a comma after introductory elements that appear at the beginning of sentences. For a college student, comma, picking a major is no easy task. If it weren't for the war, terrorism, and the election, comma, 2004 might well be remembered as the year of the surge. Whenever you travel by car, comma, buckle your seatbelt. Comma practice. So go ahead and write these down, and these I should go back one. Put comma practice in big bold lettering, and then put these examples down in your notes, so that way I know that you've been practicing. And go ahead and just pause these videos and write these things down. I'm going to go through pretty quickly though. So again, just pause it, make sure to write down these examples, and again, go ahead and get started. How to use a semicolon. Using a semicolon between two independent clauses, each sentence is either side of the semicolon must be a complete sentence on its own. So it has its own subject and its own verb, and it's separated with a semicolon. It's kind of the same idea, just separated into two separate kind kind of sections. Keep in mind that a semicolon functions the same way as a period and a capital letter. So please close the window. The room is too cold. Those two sentences could be totally independent of each other. They could be their own sentence because they have a subject and a verb, but yet they're together with a semicolon. So you can study with me this weekend. I don't have any other plans. We lost the game. We had too many fumbles. Use a semicolon between two independent clauses connected by a conjunctive adverb, however, therefore, consequently, nevertheless, then, etc. So we create study guides to help students prepare for the test. Semicolon, consequently, anytime there's an ly, you should probably put a comma behind it. Student scores are reflecting improvement. Another example, he took great care of his work, therefore, he was very successful. So anytime there's a therefore, however, that kind of thing, that's when you use those. Use a semicolon to combine two independent clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction if either or both of the clauses contain other internal punctuation. So success in college, some maintain, requires intelligence, industry, and perseverance, semicolon, but others, fewer in number, assert that only personality is important. And so because of these coordinating conjunctions and independent clauses, which are separated by these colors, as you can see, you can kind of get a feel for how the internal punctuation is affected. Use a semicolon to separate items in a series when each item has internal punctuation. And so obviously the items in a series are underlined in the orange, and you can see that clearly. And we see that those are separated because they're so long and descriptive by semicolons and not commas. In other words, a semicolon is just a glorified period, and so that's just another easy way to remember it. Kind of like the super comma when you're listing lots of things that are descriptive. So Waco, Texas. Because there's a comma here, you're going to put a semicolon here. Combine the following using the word however. So go ahead and do that on your piece of paper. Combine the following using the word however again. There's an example at the bottom. It is true that students and faculty must pay a penalty for overdue books. However, there is a grace period. How to use a colon. So real quick, to use a colon between an independent clause and a list or an explanation. And all these are color coordinated. So you can see that the independent clause is highlighted in pink and the list or explanation is highlighted in green. Those are important things to keep in mind and take note of. I would suggest using a highlighter in your notes. Okay. All right, back to this. I'm sorry, I had to go back. So that is it for commas, semicolons, and colons. Please make sure to go back and watch this video if you need additional help. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.